Okay, my name is Sarah Bafumba, and I'll be your moderator. I'll moderate today's discussion, and I'm joined with a panel of amazing people. I'm joined by Timothy Oboth, who is the program manager for the AUEU Youth Action Lab project. So he's here to share with us more about the project and other details. I'm also joined by, we have Douglas Serrata, who is the research lead at Restless Development, and he's going to share with us details about how to apply and have a successful application. We're also joined by Ms. Najma Omar from Tanzania, and she is a youth advisory board member for the AUEU project. So glad to have this panel on board, and we look forward to the discussion with them. And greetings to everyone from wherever you're logging in from. This is AUEU program. And so that means that we have colleagues connected in from very many countries, but also just to inform you that this program is cutting across 12 countries. So that's why diversity is very key, and we appreciate it. So this is a learning session for the representation grant, but also we appreciate that many learning sessions have happened by the other partners on the consortia. And so this is just a build onto what they've already shared, but also unique elements about the representation grant. And so we'll use the chat box for any questions that will be coming in, and we'll get a moment where our panelists, our speakers will respond to them, but also some of the responses will go straight into the chat box. So let's keep our eyes open and eyes open into the chat box, but also those ones with hearing impairment, look onto our colleague Yusuf, who is supporting that way. So again, this session is powered by Restless Development, because Restless Development is one of the partners on the AUEU Youth Action Lab program. And we are glad to have you learn from you, but also you learn from us, especially on how to navigate the representation grants application process. Without any further ado, I would love to welcome the first speaker, who is Timothy. Like I mentioned, he's the program manager, and he will take us through the first segment of this session, basically to learn more about the Youth Action Lab program. Because during application, it's very important that you understand what the program you're applying for represents, or what it's all about, so that it shapes and enhances your application process. So welcome, Timothy, and once again, welcome everybody on this call. I'll share my screen for that purpose to have the presentation running.
Thank you so much, Sarah, and good afternoon to everyone. My name is Timothy Oboth, like Sarah has already introduced me, and I will be speaking to you about, I will be sharing details about the AUEU Youth Action Lab programs. And so, Sarah, as we wait for the PowerPoint to come. Okay, thank you so much. So maybe just to run you through, how the day will look like. In the next slide, we will focus on understanding the AUEU Youth Lab programs, and then we shall also speak specifically about what representation grants are. And then after that, we shall go through how to apply for those who are already in the process of applying for the representation grant. And then we shall also look at the tips on how to write a successful application. And then we shall also look at the next steps, especially what next after submitting your application. And also we shall have a session for questions and answers. Yeah, so that is how it will look like. Next step, please. Next slide, please. All right, so as the next slide comes, let me just give a bit of a background. I know Sarah hinted earlier, this is a number of series of webinars have already been conducted by our colleagues Oxfam. We've also had another one that was done by European Youth Forum on the different grants that we have. Today, specifically, we are going to speak about the representation grant. And before I go into the representation grant, I'm aware that you have had the background about the AU Youth Lab programs. But just for the sake of those who are joining this webinar for the first time, I would really wish to run you through very quickly the background. Building on the different successes from the programs run by European Union in collaboration with the African Union. For instance, we have the AUEU Youth Plugin Lab, as well as the AUEU Cooperation Hub, as well as the different consultative sessions that were done by young people. The AUEU Youth Lab program was established by European Union in collaboration with the African Union to be able to contribute to the empowerment of youth in Africa and European Union to strengthen their involvement in active, meaningful, and innovative ways. And the two programs are actually built on three pillars. The first pillar focuses on advancing youth participation and representation in policy and decision-making processes, while the second pillar focuses on training and capacity building to young people and youth-led organizations. And the third pillar is in relation to youth initiative, where the program provides financial support to youth-led initiatives. And as we move forward, these programs that I'm talking about, next slide, we have the two programs. The first one is the AU Youth Voices Lab program, also known as Power of the Collective. And this focuses more on pillar number one, advancing participation and representation of young people in policy and decision-making processes. And of course, it has different components. It has a platform, online platform, where young people are able to join in and share, engage, and get empowered, but also connect with other young people across African continent, but also within the European continent. Then the Youth Voices Lab also has the aspect of capacity building, which is more of pillar two. And then it also has a small grants that are shared between, of course, 1,000 and 10,000. Just go back to the next slide, Sarah. Then the second program, the slide before, just go back to the slide before, yes. So the second program is about the Youth Action Lab, where today we are going to focus a lot and speak a little more about the Youth Action Lab in this webinar. For it focuses mainly in addressing the two pillars, pillar number 3 and number 2. And pillar number 3 speaks about the youth initiatives, and that is where we have youth initiatives being supported with the small grants that range from 5,000 to 50,000 euros. There is also a digital platform that supports collaboration of young people. And then also there is a strong component of capacity building, especially of youth-led initiatives. So the Youth Action Lab actually was designed to address the lack of opportunities of youth in Africa and Europe to collaborate, innovate, and drive solutions to shared challenges. And it is a program that is implemented by a dynamic consortium of partners. We have our colleagues in Oxfam, we have Restless Development, and the European Youth Forum, as I mentioned. So this AU Action Lab has grants that will be given out to youth-led organizations. And as you are aware already, the call went out and we are going to speak specifically about representation grant, but we shall also touch a little on the other grants also that are under this program. So next page, please. Sarah, next page. So one of the grants that are available for youth-led organizations and groups is the innovation grants. Under this, innovations that yesterday our colleagues spoke a little more about it, but just briefly, these grants are meant to support youth-led organizations to drive bold and youth-led solutions to tackle intersectional challenges at scale. And the grant sizes range between 30,000 to 50,000 euros. Then we also have the entrepreneurship grants, which enable youth-led enterprises and organizations to grow and drive meaningful change. And for those, it also ranges between 30,000 euros to 50,000 euros. Then we also have the cooperation grant, which focuses mainly in bringing youth-led initiatives together across Africa and Europe. For it has a maximum of 50,000 euros that are there to be shared with to support youth-led initiatives that are able to bring together youth initiatives across Africa and Europe. And then we have the representation grant, where we're going to focus a lot of our conversations. This is actually meant to amplify the voices of unrepresented young change makers. And for it, the grant sizes range between 10,000 to 20,000 euros. And over to you, Sarah, just to take us to the next. Yeah, so as we speak about the representation grant, so the representation grant, Sarah, if you can move to the next. Yes, so these grants are prioritizing supporting youth-led organizations and or groups that focus and target the unrepresented and marginalized young people. And in most cases, the definition of underrepresented or marginalized youth group, can differ, but the biggest parameter that we'll be focusing on is prioritizing initiatives that overcome or have potential to overcome barriers limiting young people's voices from being heard, or barriers that limit young people from meaningfully participating, and among others. And we will give examples of some of the youth-led initiatives and activities that will be funded under this grant. For instance, we have initiatives that are geared towards policy events like advocacy campaigns, where relevant stakeholders, voicing young people's rights and priorities for especially underrepresented and marginalized youth groups. We will also be focusing on youth-led initiatives that have the potential or are capable of challenging discriminatory acts and promoting inclusion, especially among the underrepresented and marginalized young people. But also priority will be given to supporting movement building initiatives, such as advocacy coalitions and networks, right from grassroots to national level, regional, and continental level. We will also be supporting development of policies or initiatives that support policy development, alternatives towards the well-being of young people, things like hackathons, things like, policy debates or movements targeting decision makers, policy reviews on formulations. So those are some of the examples of the initiatives and activities that we'll be supporting under the representation grant. Sarah, next. As Sarah moves us to the next, I want to speak briefly about the eligibility criteria, so that as you're there, you'll be able to know whether you're eligible to apply or not. So for you to be eligible to apply, your organization or group must be led by either underrepresented youth or targeting the marginalized. Then two, it should have young people aged 30 to 35 years old, who are mainly the decision makers and beneficiaries. The founder, or at least a co-founder, must be under the age of 35 years of age, and at least 70% of the staff should be young or below 35 years. Then you must be a registered youth-led organization. Registration is very key, or an NGO or associate or trade union or a collective of organizations or networks, or even an alliance, but provided you are registered and you meet the two criteria that I've already talked about. And then two, your proposal or proposed activities should take place in one or more of the 12 countries. And those countries, the 12 countries, are Ethiopia, Kenya, Mozambique, Nigeria, Senegal, Sierra Leone, Somalia, including Somaliland, Tunisia, Uganda, and Zambia, and Zimbabwe. And again, we will be offering a minimum of 10,000 euros and a maximum of 20,000 euros per grant. So that is a little more about the representation grant. And I believe by now you should be making a decision, or you should be now having some of your questions answered. So back to you, Sarah.
Okay, thank you very much, Timothy, for that elaborate presentation. And I hope members, we are getting there, and we've had a great understanding about the project, about the program, but also the eligibility criteria. So just for us to know, especially for colleagues who are joining in from either countries that speak Arabic or French or Spanish, kindly utilize the captions on the caption icon onto your screen to be able to change from English to your desired language, so that at least you're able to read the captions for your native language. And so thank you very much, Timothy, and we'll proceed. Please join me to welcome Najma. Najma is a youth advisory member, like I mentioned during the introduction. And she's going to take us through how to apply, especially using the OnGrip platform. So Najma, welcome on board.
So hi everyone, I hope you are all fine. I hope everyone is well. So with the representation grant for the AUEU Youth Action Lab, I'll take you through the application process. So first and foremost, my names are Najma Omari. I'm a youth advisory board member for the AUEU Youth Action Lab, and I'm very happy to take you through the application process. So with the application process, we are using the OnGrip platform, which is an online system that will be used to review, to access, and manage your application throughout the application process. So first thing first, as a first-time applicant, you are requested to sign in and create an account on the platform. So the platform is available, the link to the platform is available on our website. It's also dropped on the chat box, so you can just check it out. And as you apply, please be sure of the application that you're submitting, and take note that we only receive one grant application at a time. And once you submit your application, you won't be able to edit it. So fill in the slots as you're sure. So I'll take you through the application process and let's check it out. Next slide. So yes, after registering on the OnGrip platform, you will receive an acknowledgement email from the OnGrip team. So with this email, this is the email that will lead you to the application port. So you'll click in the application to access the application port. Next. So this is the application portal that we will work on, and this is how it looks like. So you'll tap in My Applications to access and begin your application. Next. So yes, so one of the key component of our template is the first page, which includes the organizational details. So with it, you are required to fill in all details of the organization, including its area of operation, area of work, its mission, vision, and coverage. So one key component on this part is the organizational structure. Since we are working on power shifting grants, we need youth to be on lead. That's why we say we need to capacitate youth. And with this, you have to clearly state the value of youth on your structure. How do you operate your organization? How is it run? And by this, you'll be required to attach the organogram. So the organogram will give us a real picture of how your organization works and how you operate. Yes. The next slide, please. So the other key point, the other key part of the template is the proposal part. So this is the part where you'll fill in the details on your project proposal. It's a slot where you'll provide description on your planned activities. It's a slot where you'll provide the explanation on the problem statement and how you'll go about it. And it's where you will certify that you are on which grant type are you applying. It's where you'll verify the grant modality that you're applying, noting that we are having 4 grant modalities. So if you have chose to apply for the representation grant, please be sure to trench your application on the correct grant application link. So you will offer the details on your project, including its title, location, and certify the duration that you are required to begin your project from May 2025 to October 2026. Yes, that's it. Next. Yes, other key components are the project activities. Yes, so you'll be required to describe the deliverables. So what are you expecting? What will you be doing? So what will you be doing during the project period? And these activities are what will clearly define how your project will operate and what's your target, how will success look like on your hand. And yes, that's it. But one of the most important things as you're writing the activities, as you're spotlighting the project implementation deliverables, you should have a clear focus on the sustainability plan. So you should not just write activities that you think that they are impressive. You should think of sustainable activities that can proceed even beyond the funding period. So be sure of the activities and align them with sustainability. Yes. Next. Yes, other key components include the monitoring and evaluation part. So as you're drafting your project proposal, as you're making your submission, you should foresee and know how you will measure your impact, how you will evaluate the success of your project, how you will measure the implementation mode and effectiveness of the coverage. Yes, so you should know how you will evaluate the reach and the impact of the activities done. Yes, so that's very key. Please be aware of it. Next. Yes. Sorry, the other slide, please. No, I think we have skipped a part. The other one, before that, yes. So the other key component is the attachment slot. So as you're submitting your application, the attachments that you have to submit along with your proposal. This includes the budget template, the organizational certificate document, the reference checklist, and the organization policies. So starting with the budget template. So please be aware that we are having a specific budget template that we use for these grants. And the template is available on our funding manual on our website. So please be sure that you're filling in the correct template, and it's the same correct template that you'll submit for reviews. Otherwise, the application will be considered disqualified. So in order to avoid disqualification, please be sure that you're using the correct budget template attached alongside with the organizational registration documents. Since for this batch, we are only funding registered organizations. So be sure that you are registered and you have your registration certificate on hand, and you have to submit it as you're submitting your proposal. Yes, that's it. Next. Okay, the last part before submitting is the certification. So on this part is the part where the contact person signs and submits the document. So before signing out, be aware that once you submit an application, you won't have access to edit it again. So once you submit it, you can't edit. You won't have access to the application for edits. You will only wait for the results, and that's it. So before submitting, please be sure that all the sessions are filled correctly. Please be aware of the word limits. Do not exceed the word limits because it will lead into errors. So you won't be able to submit your application. But also, please be aware of the deadline. The call were open from January, and the last application date is 19th February 2025. So be sure that you submit your application before the deadline. Yes, so that's it. And in case you have a question, we have an assistant email that will be shared on the link. Next slide, please. Hi, Sarah, next slide.
Hi, sorry, apologies. Douglas, kindly support sharing that screen. Sorry.
Okay, as we're waiting for the other slides to come, so I'll just love to make an I would love to insist on some key points, some keynotes that we can use as we are making our applications. So as we are applying, please be aware that as you fill in your application, you should ensure that each session is filled completely. So adhere to the word limits. So fill in correct answers with correct wording. Do not exceed the word limits. Yes, and offer a clear description of what you want to say. Another thing is adhering to the deadline. Please be aware that the call will be closed on 19th Feb. So apply before that time, and yes. One more thing is the compliance of the budget to the activity listed. So align the budget with the activities that you have pre-described on your proposal. So avoid submitting a misaligned budget because it might lead to a disqualification. So that's it. I bet now we are all comfortable for applying, and we will be happy to receive your applications and assist you in case you find any challenge. So thank you very much. Allow me to handle the mic over back to Sarah. Thank you. Sarah, over to you.
Okay, thank you very much. Douglas, you can share the screen. So we're getting into the assessment. Sorry, I've lost the host rights. Douglas, kindly grant them again. Yes, so that we proceed. Douglas? Also, thank you very much for the comments that are coming in the chat. The team has started responding to them. And I see most of the questions are around the link to the application portal, the link to the budget, but also really organizational structures. So all these are going to be responded to. If they have not yet been responded to, they will. And in case any questions are not responded to by the end of this session, we will then have an email where those questions will again be responded to. But we believe that by the end of this call, we will have, like all the information we need to continue or to apply for this grant. Douglas, I'm just waiting for the host rights so that we proceed.
You should be a host by now.
No, not yet. You're still the host. Apologies for that mishap. Restless Movement Uganda is the account I'm using. But as we wait for that, I'll just read a few questions in the chat, and then I'll invite a few speakers to respond to them. So, of course, someone asked, where do I find the budget? Douglas will come in with Douglas will come in, but also Timothy will come in with that session about the budget. And but also see that some colleagues have gone ahead to paste that in the chat. We also understand that we've reached the limit, and we apologize for that. So we will work out how to see that we also reach the other colleagues that wanted to join, but they're unable to because we are at 100% capacity. And again, apologies for that. Are projects that facilitate training of young people to facilitate grassroots leadership for SDGs in marginalized communities likely to be funded through this grant. I'll read it again. Projects that facilitate training of young people to facilitate grassroots leadership for SDGs in marginalized communities likely to be funded through this grant. Timothy, do you want to respond to that?
Sure, thank you so much, Sarah. I hope you're able to hear me loud and clear. Yeah, so again, if you reflect on the selection criteria, you notice that the calls are open. They are open to youth-led organizations or groups or even networks or coalitions. But the key word there is that they must be youth-led. And for the definition of youth-led, like we said, we looked at the age as a parameter for defining a youth-led. So this organization should have the decision makers aged between 15 to 35 years. And of course, it should also focus on young people who are aged within 15 to 35 years. So if the initiatives, if that project is being implemented by such an organization, then yes, it is eligible. And if at all you need to look at many more eligibility criteria, I encourage you to go to the funding manual. It has specifically what is being prioritized by this grant in terms of the kind of initiatives, the activities that are prioritized for funding, but also the kind of organization or youth group that is eligible. So back to you, Sarah.
Thank you very much, Timothy. There is also another question, which I think we'll get into the bucket list and addressed later in the budgeting section. In the budget template, there is a section of mandatory global transport for global engagement. What if my project doesn't have any global engagements? And and that need traveling, does it still remain mandatory to include this? This will be responded to. Again, this is an addition, I think. I'm not staff, but when you read the call, it says that part of the requirement is that the grant expects you to participate in the global event. It is in the call. Okay, so then we'll address it then. Take note of that. Our founder has 32 years old when founded. Our founder was 32 years old when founding the organization, but is now older than 35. We meet all the other criteria. Can we apply? Timothy.
Okay.
The founder is 35 years old.
Yeah, I think that's a good question. And thank you for the participant who asked it. So again, when we go back to the age category of the kind of organization or the leadership of that organization, the question is clearly indicating that at the time of founding the organization, the leader by then was 32 years, and now the leader is beyond 35 years old. So the question is that organization eligible? I think when we look at other parameters, which speak about at least 70% of the decision makers in that organization are young people between 15 to 35 years. If at all that is the case with the organization, then your chances of being eligible are high. Then secondly, if you are targeting, also your target group is also young people between the age of 15 to 35 years, and they are regarded as underrepresented or marginalized. And if your initiative is also targeting that category of group, and you have amazing ideas that you would want to be funded, your chances are still high to be funded. So I would again encourage that each of us, we read through the eligibility criteria carefully and see if we are able to qualify or not to qualify. So I think that is the response that I can share on that for now. Back to you, Sarah.
Okay, thank you very much, Timothy, for that. So we'll just get into a quick activity. I know we all went through the session that Najma shared with us about the on-grip platform. So would love to hear from you. I would love to know from you how comfortable and confident are you having gone through or having gone through that session with Najma. How confident and comfortable are you with using the on-grip portal to apply for the representation grant? So use the code is 13 14 88 90. Can we have feedback from you on how do you feel? It could be really like elaborate to share, and if you have any challenges you're still encountering, kindly drop them here so that perhaps by the end of the session we will take you through them or have more sessions to it. The Mentimeter is already open. Kindly share your feedback here, and it will be projected. Again, it's anonymous. No one will know that you have said ABCD. We'll just take a few minutes to do that. The code is 13 14 88 90, but also a link, possibly a link has been shared in the chat for us to join directly. We don't have any comment, any feedback, any response yet, but we are looking forward to receiving responses from you, Tim, on how confident and comfortable you feel about using the on-grip portal. Okay, are there any responses? Are people sending in?
No.
How comfortable and confident do you feel?
Link yet. The link
Not
is
yet.
not active.
Sorry?
I'm saying the link where the response is, it's not active. When you click, it doesn't respond.
Ah,
Yes, your
really?
responding is off. You have to turn it on, please.
Yeah, we are unable to submit. The submit button is not functional.
Ah,
Yeah,
okay.
it's saying responding is off. Please wait, ask the presenter to allow new responses.
Okay, sorry, I will just stop sharing for the moment and work on that. Okay, we should be able to submit our responses now. Try again. Good.
Yes, it's working now.
Thank you. Okay, so we have some few responses. I feel confident, comfortable, very confident, yes, confident. I feel confident. I tried to interact with the platform before this meeting and it was user-friendly. Good, thank you. Then I feel confident. Basically, people are confident. And again, in case you have any challenges, if you're encountering any challenges while you're on the call, but also after the call, feel free to get in touch with us using the email address that will be shared. And someone says it's a nice, exciting new learning curve. Thank you very much. We'll then proceed with our next segment. And please join me to invite the next presenter to take us through how to build a successful application. And this is Douglas. Douglas, most welcome.
Thank you, Sarah. I hope you can see me. And thank you so much, presenters and participants, for having this platform. So we are quickly going to delve into what makes a successful application, at least from our end, especially the people who are going to be looking at your respective proposals. So number one is meeting both the hard and soft copy eligibility criteria. Now, the previous speakers have alluded to the fact that we have some criterion we are going to use to evaluate this process. So we want to make sure that you actually meet that criteria. Once you meet that criteria, then you should be able to move on the next stage of application process and ensure that your process, your proposal is actually accepted. Then the other one is clearly capturing innovativeness of your project, i.e. the design, of course, the testing, the scale up, as well as improvement proposed. Of course, if you look at the template, there are a number of things we are requesting you to submit to us. So if your proposal is able to address some of those things, then you shouldn't have any issues being taken on the next stage of the proposal process. Then the other one is showing you how the project addresses or benefits marginalized groups. Again, Timothy alluded to this emphatically, talking about some of those marginalized groups, the women, the people with disabilities and other groups. So ensure that as you propose to us some of these solutions, as you propose to us some of these things, you are working around benefits to the people who are marginalized in our context. Then the other one is providing a clear approach to ensuring the sustainability of your project. Again, sustainability is a key. While we are aware that it's a one-year project, we are looking at beyond the 1 year. How can we ensure the benefits, those deliverables you've been contributing to are continued beyond the project lifetime? Then the other one is showing how the organization will work and connect with others. So we are looking at both inter and intra. So working as you as a team, but also across partnerships. As you realize, all the previous presenters have alluded the fact that we are working in partnership. We are with European Youth Forum, we are with Oxfam, we are with Restless Government, and others who are working with. So make sure that your proposal tries to look at some of those partnerships across. It's usually good to make sure that you strike partnership, you strike kind of a collaboration to augment your chances of being taken on. Then the other one is showing the relevancy of your project to the ambitions of the fund. Maybe I could just speak this further a bit. You know, it's important to focus on the relevance of your project to the AUEU priorities. You know, your application must clearly demonstrate how your project aligns with the AUEU goals, such as youth empowerment. We are talking about innovation. We are talking about cross-border collaboration. I could give an example for probably a proposal which wouldn't probably cut. For example, if you say you are in a business or a small business applying for funding to expand a clothing shop, yeah. However, this application kind of fails to explain how the business is innovative, is scalable, and contributes to our ambitious goals of the AU and EU collaboration leading to rejection. So that one I can tell you right outwardly, if you're just going to expand your clothing business with our grant opportunity, then most likely you're not going to be taken on the next stage. However, if you look at this approach, for example, if you're a tech startup, for example, and then you propose a mobile platform for small African and European businesses, yeah, the application highlights how the project supports digital transformation as well as cross-border trade, thus aligning with the AU-EU economic priorities. You see, we are talking about cross-border kind of conversations, Africa and Europe, and it's about digital transformation, and then you're showing us how these things actually are aligning with the economic priorities of the AU-EU funding priorities. Then the other thing is that please, and again, check the eligibility criteria carefully, yeah? Even small mistakes in eligibility, such as incorrect documentation or missing registration, can lead to automatic registration. So we wouldn't want to disqualify someone because they have just merely missed incorrect documentation, or they have not been able to give us their registration. So we want you to make sure that you have all these documents, or the eligibility criteria is taken care of by you on your end when you are applying. I would give you an example. If a group of you probably you propose generational leadership workshops, you know, many of us are so excited about some of these things, workshops, without specifying how it relates to AU-EU representation goals. Okay, you probably not go through because there's lack of clarity on how these workshops are going to be, help us to achieve our goal. So the application is not considered because it's not very competitive, but also it doesn't really align to the priorities of AU-EU. Then the other one, probably I could give you a good one. If, for example, you as an applicant, you have a youth-led organization, you propose to train young women in policy making to increase female representation in decision-making forums. You see, now I'm being careful. I'm ensuring that I am aligning what I'm proposing to the AU-EU frameworks, and as well as goals and ambition. This application clearly links the AU priorities on youth engagement as well as good gender equality. Then I could further say, if you don't pay attention to the specific grant type, for example, each grant type has a specific focus, and failing to tailor your application to the grant type can result in rejection. You want to apply for a representation grant, you end up doing an innovation grant. Clearly, you're already having a mismatch of priorities. Clearly, someone reviewing this is going to say this person still not be knowing what they're doing, and they will just throw your application without probably a second option. So let's be careful with that. And I could give you an example of this is that, for example, if you're a non-profit in Kenya, and then you want a good one is like you're a non-profit in Kenya, and you want to partner with a French organization, maybe a French-speaking organization, one of the probably West African country, to develop intercultural exchange program, okay, for young entrepreneurs to demonstrate their bilateral cooperation strategy between Africa and Europe or something like that. Here you see there's some level of clarification. It is clear you're talking about that cooperation grant, which is involving so many individuals cross-border, and it's clear. However, if you do yours and you're applying for a cooperation grant, but you only focus on national level activities, you know, then the project does not meet the grant criteria, and thus to be, you know, without an international partnership, leaving us with no choice but probably to disqualify that. And we wouldn't want to do that. We want as many grants as possible to go to the next level to ensure that we have an opportunity to work with each one of you. Then the other one is incomplete application and ignoring the core requirements. Members, leaving out required sections, missing attachments, failing to follow guidelines can weaken your application and even leads to you, even if your idea is very strong, but if some of these things are not brought up clearly, then you're going to miss an opportunity to work with you. Why? You have not been able to follow the guidance. I'm going again to refer you to our funding manual. Please make this as your guiding Bible or Quran to help you as you apply for this grant, okay? So a clear case would be, for example, if you're applying for an innovation grant, but not include a clear budget breakdown or their technology project, despite having a great idea, your application will be rejected, yeah, because you didn't follow the examples we are talking about. So for me, the final tip before I hand over to you, Sarah, is before submitting your application, please check your project, that your project fits the grant category and that you've been able to answer all the sections properly. Over to you, Sarah. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much, Douglas, for that elaborate explanation, especially around how to make our application smart and then become successful. We have a number of questions in the chat, so we're going to run again another round, especially from our speakers, to respond to some of them. And the first one, I think it's consortia related. Can I apply for this grant as a consortium of two organizations, both are youth serving, or both serve our youth interests? And in the same way, also have a similar question. As an applicant organization, are we allowed to partner and collaborate with other organizations for the good success of the organization objectives and goal set on the project applied for? And if yes, are we supposed to include the organization in the project proposal before submission? Well, Timothy, kindly respond to those two.
Okay, thank you so much, Sarah. The first question was, can I apply for this grant as a consortium of two organizations both serving youth interests? The answer is yes, you can, provided you're very clear on the lead applicant. In the application form, it's clearly indicated there for you to provide details. And the consortium, as the provision or the eligibility criteria says, that networks are part of these organizations that can be funded, coalition. So I believe that that falls under the category of provided you're a network, you're two organizations that have a legal provision that binds the two of you. I believe that you are eligible to apply. And then, of course, double check clearly whether other eligibility criteria apply. Once they all apply, then yes, certainly you qualify. Then the other question, Sarah, was in line with, I think I missed it out.
It was seemingly the same, that the two organizations would love to collaborate for the good of the organizations, but also the objective of the project. And if they are supposed to apply, do they need to include, does this, for example, the lead need to include both organizations in the proposal before submission?
I think the lead applicant now will be the one indicated. And of course, you know, it shouldn't also be a situation where you are partnering or forming a network simply because you have seen a call for proposal. It should be that this network or consortium has been existing already and you've been implementing, and you're simply looking at this as an opportunity to scale up or to move your solutions or initiatives to another level. So that's why I'm saying there has to be some legal provision that connects the two of you. And of course, you have to indicate in the provision in the application that requires which contact person and the lead partner that we will be engaging and dealing with in case you're to succeed.
You, Timothy. Thank you, Timothy. Then this one will be responded to by Najma. There are two in one. Does the platform auto-save the applications? Then two, the online portal is not working on my side as it's not sending the link for full application. What could be the problem, Najma?
So thank you, Sarah, for the question. So I'll respond to the first one first. So yes, the on-grip platform auto-saves the application. So as you fill in, it saves automatically. Yes, that's it.
Yeah, and how about the other who is not, I think they're not able to, just going there. The online portal is not working on this person's side and it's not sending the link for the full application.
So thank you, Sarah. Okay. So in case of any assistance, for a need of an assistance, or in case you find any error during your application, please screenshot the error message and send it to the program email that will be dropped on the chat. And the IT team will be ready for assistance. Yes, so we'll assist you definitely.
Sure. Thank you very much, Najma. So next we'll move on to the next segment. It's on budgeting. And we've seen very many questions in the chat about the budget template. So please, let's welcome Timothy to take us through the budgeting process, but also the guidelines.
Thank you so much, Sarah. So for the budget, I will be happy to take you through some of the guidelines, some of the things that you need to keep at the back of your mind as you're developing the budget for your proposal. For instance, you need to go to the funding manual to check for budget details and any other frequently asked questions. Once you have this background, it will guide you in terms of completing your budget. And then two, you have to submit your budget using the official budget template. Please note that any application that is submitted with a template, which is not the official template, will not be considered. So what you need to do, you need to download the template that has been provided, you fill it, and then submit it back with your application. And then two, you also need to make sure that the budget will be in euros. You can include even the local currency, but at the end of the day, have another column that will translate the local currency into euros and clearly indicate the exchange rate that you used when converting the local currency into euros. Then another key thing that you need to consider at the back of your mind is that there are really no sales, restricted sales on salaries and overheads, but, and be careful about this, but be reasonable and justify your cost. That is really, really key. And then that is also linked with other expenses that will be directly linked with project activities. So just make sure that whatever expense or whatever budget that you're including in your project budget is linked to the project activities. Don't include scenarios where you're planning for an advocacy training and the cost that you've put there is for perhaps maybe touring, Karamoja region, which is in Uganda, not linked in any way with the activity that you have proposed. So every expenses, every cost in your budget must be linked directly with the project activities. Then of course we will require that you be clear and precise because reviewers that will be looking at your application will be keen in how your budget can easily be understood and how each cost supports your project. So use simple and clear words and precise language that can easily be understood by the reviewers. You can move to the next slide, Sarah. Yes, so these are some of the common mistakes when developing budgets, so you need to avoid them. Please don't submit costs without justification. Always have a column that will explain, provide additional explanation. Some people call it budget notes. That will be very important. Also, do not use vague budget lines. Be specific. Instead of training costs, you're writing other things like trainer's fee for 3 days, etc., which is quite not clear. Also, don't include ineligible expenses. I gave an example of you have an advocacy activity in the Kampala city, but below it, you have included an expense of a tour to the northern part of Uganda, Karamoja. I mean, that is in any way not linked with the activity. So that automatically becomes ineligible expense. Then don't submit a budget that exceeds the funding limit. We already talked about the funding limit, which is 20,000 euros. So please do not exceed, even with a coin or a shillings. Don't wait until the last minute. These are mistakes that some people commit or do when they are budgeting. Give yourself time to check the calculations, ensure that alignment with the application is thoroughly done well. So these all increase your chances of your application being successful. So those are some of the tips related to the budget that I wanted to share at this point. So back to you, Sarah.
Okay, thank you very much, Timothy, for that, for your responses. But maybe since we're talking about budget, we can also talk about the work plan. So there is a question that is there a template for work plan, or can organizations use their own work plan templates?
Yeah, thank you so much, and thanks for that question. So we're also trying not to be so restrictive and kill the innovation of young people. So what you're going to see in the application form are just key elements that we would want to see in a work plan. So we would leave the creativity part of developing unique templates from your end, but provided they take care of the key parameters and the elements that have been mentioned in the application form.
Okay, thank you. I think there's still more confusion, but yes, this call seeks to clarify everything. So I think they need more clarity. Teams need more clarity about the travel budget percentage.
Sure.
Are we truly? Oh, okay. Some of our projects are locally based, hence no need for this budget item.
Okay. So yes, that is a good question. So for the EU AU Youth Action Lab program, especially looking at the objectives that have been put aside, there is a very strong component on link and learn, and so we would really wish that the grantees that will benefit from this funding together jointly with young people, we learn through processes, we document as much as possible some of the lessons, the experiences, the challenges that youth-led organizations undertake. So the component of learn and link is very key for this program, and therefore it doesn't matter whether you're grassroots or you're at the continental level or what. There are important learnings that we would want to learn, to hear from you, but also there are others that you would want to learn from others. So yes, it's important that you allocate some budget for that. I think we consider it as an important aspect in this program. So we would really wish that you give it a priority.
Okay, thank you, Timothy. And then just another question, but I think there's interest also from the participants, members, to learn about the innovation as well as the entrepreneurship grants. I know this call is, much focused on representation grant, but I will ask, and if we are not able to respond to it, we can refer to the necessary sites. So is there, can any of the facilitators shed light on the entrepreneurship breakdown of the budget?
Yeah, so yes, so yesterday there was a webinar that talked about the entrepreneurship grant, and indeed, if you go to the funding manual, it has a detailed explanation on how the budget should be and how you should present the items that fall in that budget. So I would maybe encourage, in case that potential applicant has any issue in accessing the funding manual, kindly just write onto that email that we are going to share, or the one that we will talk about, and then we shall, on a case by case, support you on addressing some of the challenges that you will have, and provide more information in relation to the entrepreneurship grant.
Okay, thank you very much. So we'll just give an opportunity to 3 members on the call to ask questions. So if you feel your question has not been responded to, or as a question has come up during these last minutes, kindly put up your hand using the reaction icon. I can see we have 3 hands already. So put up your hand. Let's have Hajati Abdul. Ask your question in 60 seconds.
Okay, thank you so much. And I'm so glad to have this call. One is my question is around inclusivity and diversity. Looking at the fact that I've reached out to Restless Development because I have worked with them under Oxfam, Uganda. And we work with transgender persons, or probably youth transgender women in the rural areas. So is this call eligible to organizations that are basically working with such under marginalized communities, looking at the context analysis in Uganda and having the Anti-Homosexuality Bill and Act 2023 that is currently available? So that is one question that I would like to ask. My other question is around the flexibility, because I know one of the things that most of the donors normally ask us is, yeah, your proposal was good, but the problem is the country context analysis. How inclusive is Restless Development? For me, I've worked with Voice, which is also a funded project under Oxfam, and it's the same kind of context analysis that we're working in. How inclusive is Restless Development Uganda around the issues of sexual and gender minorities when it comes to this call for proposal?
Okay, thank you very much. I will then have Quinta.
Thank you. Good evening, everyone. This is Quinta Obiero from Kenya. I work with Equal Voices Organization, which is a youth-led queer organization based in Bondo. My question would be, some have been answered, however, I didn't get this one clearly. Considering that this is for youth organization, and also assuming that several youth organizations have not handled a lot of money. So I was wondering, do you have an internal policy that states how much a youth organization must have handled before we could maybe rush for 20,000 euros? Or if we have maybe handled 2,000 euros, you're still eligible to apply or go for the 20. Does that reduce our chances?
Okay, thank you, Quinta. And I think your question largely lies around your previous experience with maybe perhaps running huge grants, accounts, and everything. But yes, we'll respond to that. Let's have Ibiso Ikroma.
Hello, everyone. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
Okay, thank you very much. So I've stayed through the webinar and it was really insightful for me. I had to learn a lot on the application process. I think someone is unmuted.
Okay, thank you. Proceed. And colleagues, let's just mute if you're speaking, if you've not been granted the permission. Thank you.
Thank you. So I think some of the questions I would have asked for the innovation grant were already answered, but I have a difficulty with navigating the innovation grant site, which I have been trying to get answers to that for a while now. So I don't know if it's possible to probably share screens and then help with how to navigate the innovation grants, because that's the grant I'm applying for. So if it's possible, I'll be very grateful. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Anna? Namalinda.
Thank you so much, Sarah. Mine is what if I've been operating as a CBO and on registration, the name was changed by maybe the system. Can I still apply? But all the social media, the website is in the names of the CBO, and on registration, the URBs changed the name to another name. Is it okay if I apply and maybe I just give highlights about the changing of the name? Thank you.
Thank you very much. That is a little bit tough, Anna, because again, URSB and then the NGO Bureau are those institutions that, they usually follow, especially during reviewing of applications. But for me, moving forward, actually, I would ask you that you apply for a change of name or like explain to URSB, because this is going to continue coming up, on your side, and it will weigh you much. So it can be changed. Not sure if it can be changed, but you need to talk back to URSB and see how this can be, addressed. Okay, let's have Anzu. And lastly, RISPA. We'll end at RISPA.
Okay, hello everybody, hope you're doing well. My name is Azam Mustafa, I'm a success and youth volunteer. Okay, the question I wanted to ask is that I'm applying for the representation grant. And basically the organization that we work with, I'm a volunteer of the organization, but the program that we're going to work with is another approach that we're doing something different than we usually do before. So may I ask what specific maybe impact matrix or innovative approaches that you guys usually prioritize in that selection process? As you've seen, it is quite a competitive nature of this grant. So I'd like to get more details on that information if it's possible. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you very much. And then lastly, RISPA. RISPA, if you're speaking, you're on mute.
Okay, yes, my name is RISPA from Coastal Kenya, and I work with a community-based organization. I have two issues here. When an organization existed informally and then registered, so you can find that the age of the organization is a bit younger than when it informally existed, how do you gauge that as part of an experience or a criteria? And two, if the organization, more of this funding is for the youth, but the leader is not a youth, is that a hindrance? And lastly, the cross-border collaboration or international collaboration, is this a strong asset or can it be just national or regional or local collaboration? Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. So I think about the leader not being a young person, Timothy responded to it at some point when someone asked almost the same question, that their leader is 35, you know, and above. So that was already addressed. And then international collaboration is indeed a very strong element and objective under the AUEU program. So yeah, I mean, collaboration, networking, and everything. So we need to say of how we tie in all these aspects on this call for application. I'll invite Timothy and maybe Douglas, and then we'll come to the close. Timothy, thank you.
Thank you so much, Sarah. And these are very important questions. I will start with the one that was inquiring about the threshold, especially for youth-led organizations that perhaps have not handled funding before of a certain magnitude and would like to apply. I think we try to look into that in the eligibility criteria, and there's a part that speaks to how much a youth-led organization or group should have at least managed before, just to help us assess issues of capacity and also the capacity to be able to manage funding of a certain magnitude. So the beauty is there is a range of grants and of different sizes. So as an organization, you need to see your capacity and how much you're able to manage, and that should be the guiding point. Otherwise, I would still encourage that you look into the eligibility criteria and specifically see what threshold was described there for an organization that would want to apply for a particular grant. So the question is, how much have you managed in terms of budget have you managed before? So that will only help you and help us be able to assess whether you have the capacity to be able to manage the grants. So that is for this cohort, and for the coming cohorts for representation grant, it will certainly perhaps have different eligibility criteria that might favor mainly the grassroots organizations that perhaps have not had previous experience in managing big grants. But for this cohort, there's a threshold that was included in the eligibility criteria, which I encourage you to once again have a look at it. Then there's a question around the innovation grant, difficulties to navigate the portal. I would encourage this applicant to write to that email again, and particularly you can screenshot that section that is giving you hard time, and then you forward it to that email. Our IT specialist will definitely come to your support and rescue. This is something that I believe can be solved. There is nothing that can defeat us at that level. Then on the issue of changing the name, I think, Sarah, you already responded to that. There is also the existing, once one has existed, an organization has existed before, but during registration, they find themselves having another status. And so how I understood this question, it is speaking towards the age of the organization. I think for this call, the focus is not so much on how old an organization or youth-led group is, but it's just about what kind of initiative are you proposing? Does it solve some of the global challenges? And then are you fully registered? And then the governance structures, is it comprising of young people within that age group that we mentioned? I think that is really very key. We are not here to support only the usual suspects that have been in the industry for a long time. I think other criteria, other aspects in the criteria come in very handy, which can make you eligible. And I encourage that you focus on them and try your luck. Then on the issue of inclusion, I think there is a caller that asked about how inclusive is restless development. And I want to say that for this program and this grant, the aspect of inclusion is considered, only that it also takes care of the context, and good enough you mentioned context analysis. And indeed, the context of every country will be put into play when addressing the issues of inclusion. So I also encourage that you can, inquire a little more using the email that we are going to share with you, and then we shall have a case-by-case detailed discussion in line with that. So those are the responses I had from my end. Back to you, Sarah.
Thank you very much, Timothy. I think just one more question for you to respond to. The Power Voices sign-up page is not working. When will this be sorted? I think I saw 2 comments about the same.
Okay. Oh yeah, sure. I think again, just like we advise that you screenshot that particular part and then share in that email, the IT team will help. Because what I know is so many have already logged in, including myself, and we didn't find any trouble. So perhaps it is a case we can handle it from a case-by-case basis. So kindly send that screenshot to that email. We will help you.
Okay, thank you very much. So we are coming to the end, and please allow me to invite Douglas to take us through the next steps before we close. Douglas?
Sure. Thank you, Sarah and Timothy. Just to reiterate, I know we may not exhaust every comment here, every question, but again, let's utilize our platform, the various platforms provided already and during this meeting, but also in our different documentation to ensure that we have our questions or queries responded to. So what do we have as next steps? I would encourage all of us to go through our website and our frequently asked questions, as well as the funding menu. So please review these resources to ensure that some of those questions you might have, probably you might have not found, might have not ably given you, they could have been already answered in the funding menu, but also the other frequently asked questions. Then the other one, that platform called the Power Voices platform. Please make sure you register there, and then you follow up the AUEU Youth Lab community. Please, this will help you to stay updated and engage with other applicants, as well as experts by joining that platform to ensure that you can always navigate some of these issues together. Sometimes some of these things require teamwork and just peer kind of responses. So if you do that, then you should be able to, you might find that one of our community members already faced that one, and they should be able to share how they overcame challenge. Then please remember the deadline for submission. Submit your application before the 19th of February 2025 at midnight Central European time. For those of us in East Africa, we're not using East African time. We're not using Central African time. We're using Central European time. Please mark that, because the system will automatically go off. It will not be responsive when we do that. So let's double check that and ensure that you submit all those things on time. Then the other one is please wait for updates. We'll contact you assuredly in April. So you receive all these updates about the process of your and all the other updates regarding your application process once you've submitted via email, that email which has been shared there, but also on the on-grid portal, you should be able to see the progress of how we move with your proposal and then the review process. Then the other one, again, I'm just reiterating, check the frequently asked questions. Many common questions are already there answered, and so review it before seeking additional clarification. Otherwise, you might seem like you're doing double work, yet you could easily get it from that platform. So from me, the other bit I could just share is that if there are some questions which you feel have not been responded to during this short time we've had with you, please go ahead and write it down and just send that email which has been shared so that we can quickly look through and then provide you appropriate time and some extra length or resources to help you be in position to excel as you apply for this proposal and submit your application. So lastly from me is just a final tip. Please carefully review everything before submission to maximize your chances of success. Ensure that you have like a team of 2-3 people to review to ensure that the eligibility criteria and your application is really rhyming, speaking the same language. Otherwise, if you don't do that, then you might not maximize the chances of success. Other than that, from me and the team here, where I'm sitting, good luck with that. Over to you, Sarah. Thanks.
Okay, thank you. Thank you very much, Douglas, for that. So again, we'll just have one more activity, just as an evaluation for having been a part of this engagement. So again, we'll get to Mentimeter and you'll respond to some of the question. It's just one question. How relevant did you find this session in regards to the application process? Again, the code is 13148890 and it's open to receive responses. How relevant did you find this session regarding the application process for the representation grant? Feel free to be elaborate, yes, and not just share one or two words. 13148890. Okay, we have so much critical. Thank you very much for your response. Yes, let's continue even having this engagement. Send us your questions on the email that Douglas has just shared. How relevant or how important, how useful, how impactful did you find this session to enable you apply for the representation grant or even other grants? Okay, can we have more responses to this? Yes. We're still waiting. Someone says, I appreciated the clarification and the response, but would suggest next time to have reference or key metrics to understand its selection process. Thank you very much for the feedback. Very elaborate and detailed explanation by the hosts. Thank you very much. And again, we apologize for the limitation, especially on the meeting. For the next grant that Timothy talked about, a learning session, we will have at least, a webinar to enable as many people as possible to join the call. Quite detailed, but did not get response on the percentage of budget that we would dedicate to administration and regional traveling. Okay, and we can have that responded to directly on email. Yes, but also maybe as we send back the feedback, we'll also touch base on that. Thank you. Very hopeful, very elaborate and helpful. Okay, we are 5 minutes down the hour. So we appreciate all of you for coming, for joining today's learning session, and we look forward to sharing with you again, especially with the next grant that we will be rolling out. we look forward to receiving your applications and wishing you all the best success as you submit your applications by 19th of February. Yes. From us, the speakers, and as well as your moderator and Yusuf, who was doing sign language interpretation, we wish you all the best. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. Good luck, everyone.
Good luck. Thank you. Bye.
Okay, thank you.
Bye-bye.